Okay, looks like we are in. So let's get started with today's session. So welcome to UPSC Buffet by Gallant IAS. So we will be discussing the 2024 Environment PYQ, Prelims PYQ. So I have made slight changes to the presentation this time. I have added more value-added notes as well as the kind of expected areas, a forecast of sorts of areas that you can focus on and you can improve upon, so that you will be better ready with the upcoming 2026 or 2027 prelims that you are going to face. So let's get started. The first question, I've always referred to this PFAS in multiple times in the past few discussions. Perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances that are used in the making of many consumer products. Consider the following statements. At first sight, you may not be knowing anything. If you know something like Teflon is a PFAS, if you have read about it, very good. But even if you don't know about it, we can actually answer this question using our logic and understanding. So I'll tell you how to do that. So PFAS are found to be widespread in drinking water, food and food packaging materials. At first, this sentence seems a bit extreme because from the name of it, perfluoroalkyl, we get the idea that this is not something that is a good thing or something that is good for our health. So having something bad for our health being widespread in drinking water, food and food packaging material seems very unlikely. That's the first doubt anybody will be having, given the harmful nature of PFAS. But this is where paying close attention to the keyword or the sentence construction matters. Here the statement is not like PFAS are used in drinking water, food and food packaging materials. It is saying that they are found to be widespread. Such a finding, it is a finding of any research team or an investigative team. So that's a finding of an investigative team. Just like we find that heavy metal poisoning is there in the drinking water of many riverine communities in India itself. So just like we say, arsenic is found to be widespread in drinking water in Majuli area. Heavy metal poisoning. That's another example. So such a framing means that PFAS are not used in drinking water or they are not supposed to be found there, but they are found. That's kind of a finding, an alarming finding of sorts. That's exactly what this are found to be widespread signifies. So pay close attention to that kind of sentence framing. Okay, this is the first takeaway from this question, and you should be wary of these sort of framing in the upcoming examinations. UPSC will be handling these sort of questions like that only. So this is very important. Even if you know PFAS, you might think that this could be wrong, thinking that PFAS are harmful and they are not found to be widespread in food and food packaging material. But the issue is that PFAS they are saying that they are found to be widespread, not used or seen or anything. This is a finding that is alarming. That's it. PFAS are not easily degraded in the environment. Okay, maybe, we don't know. Persistent exposure to PFAS can lead to bioaccumulation in animal bodies. Bioaccumulation, biomagnification, we know all that, meaning as a chemical that is being stored in the lower order and that lower order animals which is being consumed by higher order animals, these get accumulated, magnified and at the higher food chain. So that basically happens. So bioaccumulation happens because of the persistent nature of the material or the non-transient nature, meaning that it doesn't degrade easily. That's the reason why they actually accumulate. This is the one. The statement 3 and statement 2 are actually very much connected. So there is no particular reason to eliminate 2 and 3. Like if 2 is there, 3 should be there. So any option without the combination of 2 and 3 can be eliminated right away. That's one way to approach it, because 2 and 3 are very much interconnected and we cannot eliminate 2 and keep 3 or keep 3 and eliminate 2. They should be right together or they should be wrong altogether. So we should be going for the options that doesn't have 2 and 3 or eliminate the option. We are left with the options that should include 2 and 3 or that shouldn't include both 2 and 3. But there is no such thing. There is only options with 2 and 3 included. So meaning that we are done with these two. So we are left with 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. I think you understood the logic, because we cannot eliminate 2 and keep 3. Also, we cannot keep 3 and eliminate 2. So that's the reason why we should be taking them together or eliminating them altogether. Since there is no option with 1 only, that means no 2 and 3, we are left with only these 2 options, 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3. And about the first statement, like I said, though it's a harmful material, it is said that it is found to be widespread. Though it's an extreme statement, the widespread part of this statement is extreme. It is saying that they are found to be, not that they are used or they are normally found or something like that. This sounds like, or this exact sentence is like a finding of a research team, which is alarming. That means PFAS are not supposed to be found in these bodies, but they are found. That's the issue, and that's the concern about PFAS. So that also makes sense. Thus, we can take all the options as right. So I hope you understood the way this statement is framed. This is very important because a statement becomes extreme or generalistic based on the way the question is being framed. For example, last day we have discussed copper smelting plants emit lethal amounts of carbon monoxide emissions to the atmosphere. The fact that it is framed as they may, but lethal is included. So having an extreme statement in a non-extreme combination of extreme and non-extreme keywords are there, meaning that net effect of that statement will be extreme only. Here also the statement is extreme only, but the issue is that they are not saying that it is used or it is seen. It's just like a finding, meaning that it is not supposed to be there, but it is found there, and maybe that could be the reason why this particular question has come up. So that's the thing. So that's how we arrive at the answer as D. Okay, moving on. And one more important thing that is connected to PFAS is that Teflon is a perfluoroalkyl substance which is being used in cookware, the kitchen utensils, etc. mainly because of its non-sticky nature and the thermal stability. But the issue with the Teflon is that though it's thermally stable up to a certain degree, beyond which it actually degrades, and the same effect of biomagnification, bioaccumulation is actually applicable to Teflon as well. So that's one point to keep in mind, because Teflon is being used in kitchenware, cookware, everywhere, like across the world, but it does have its own harmful impacts on our health. So keep that in mind. Another important topic is this, oxoplastic. These are actually very relevant in these days because they are quite a bit in news, and this has been asked in our Gallant test question. This is why I tell you that the kind of questions you should be practicing on should be well aligned with the demand of the UPSC examination. This is the exact question from Gallant test which our students are attending. This oxoplastic, this is very relevant because recently government has banned, under the plastic waste management rules, government has completely banned oxoplastics, and you should be very aware about what are oxoplastics, because from the name of it, it's slightly misleading. You might think that oxoplastic are slightly more biodegradable, environmental friendly, but they are not. The issue is that oxoplastic are made by adding a particular catalyst to the normal plastic so that they get easily disintegrated under the UV light. UV light as in general sunlight, meaning that they get easily pulverized or they are splintered into smaller bits, weathered into smaller bits. At first we might think that okay, this is good because the main issue with plastic is that it's very stable and it won't degrade. But the issue with oxoplastic is that the microparticles doesn't degrade, they are microplastic itself. This is even more harmful. Microplastics are even more harmful because they can have the biomagnification, bioaccumulation effect, as well as they can penetrate the bloodstream and they can destroy a whole lot of ocean ecosystem very much. So microplastics are way more harmful, and oxoplastics are actually a leading cause of microplastics because they, due to their manufacturing process in which a catalyst is added, which facilitates easy degradation, not just degradation, they just disintegrate. They doesn't degrade as such, they just disintegrate into smaller bits. That's the issue with this oxoplastic. So initially the idea was that oxoplastic will be easier to manage because they get easily broken down into smaller pieces, but in the long run they are more harmful than conventional plastic. That's the issue. So the answer for this is oxoplastics contain specific additives that catalyze their breakdown when exposed to UV, while conventional plastic do not. This is one area that we can expect in 2026 or 27, which is very much similar to this PFAS. Okay, The same concerns or similar concerns about PFAS are applicable to these oxoplastics, and these oxoplastics are actually banned under plastic waste management rules. So oxoplastics are illegal in India, and so you should be understanding difference between oxoplastic, biodegradable plastic, compostable plastic. So this is one thing, especially in the backdrop of plastics treaty that is been going on under discussion. So that's it. Again, I am reiterating the importance of a good test series, and this is the kind of test series that we are offering and the kind of questions we are having. So take a look at our questions and you can actually feel the quality for yourself. So you can train your logic, everything prior to the actual examination in a very exam suited manner. So moving on. Parasitoid species are found in how many of the above organisms? This is a slightly tricky question because it is not very easy to decipher what parasitoid means. We could decipher that, okay, parasitic behavior or something of that sort, but other than that, it's slightly on the difficult side to decipher what exactly are parasitoid species. If you have read about it, it's all the more good. But like I said, by the time you are into this examination and you have been coming across a lot of species, you will come across some sort of behavior by certain organism. For example, there are certain wasps that actually attacks larvae of worms, etc., and they attack their neural system and take over their body eventually, and this whole body of the worm that this wasp has attacked becomes a body for this worm, and it uses that body, the dead body of that worm, to attract prey for this wasp. So that's exactly what parasitoid species are. I have seen this in National Geography or some random shorts video I have seen. This is why I am saying, like, sometimes luck favors you, you might be coming across these, but again, just by having that knowledge itself, I wouldn't be able to answer this question fully or accurately. But what I've said is that we might have seen those things. So such behaviors, if you come across such behaviors, try to understand what exactly those behavior is called. So even if you don't know the name of it, a question like this comes and it will be slightly difficult for you or nearly impossible for you to decipher. So if at all you come across special behaviors of animal, easily while scrolling through any pages like YouTube videos, you should actually look for the names. Okay, carabid beetles is actually very famous for this. Centipedes, I don't know whether they do this because centipedes are not at all a parasitoid species. Flies does this. Termites are not at all doing that. Wasp is actually very much famous for doing this. So I think wasp, flies and carabid beetles, only three are the major organisms that exhibit parasitoid species. I'll give a slight explanation because this is a very niche topic and you don't have to go and look around, learn about this. So I'll make it easy for you. We'll just learn something about them. Parasitoid organisms are whose larvae lives inside a host, feeds on it and eventually kills the host. So unlike a usual parasite which just takes or lives inside the host and eventually completes its life cycle, but this is guaranteed and destined to kill the host. Not all parasite kills their host, but it's generally detrimental to the host. But this parasitoid is very much like a predator because it eventually kills the host. So the examples are wasps, this trichogramma wasp and egg parasitoid wasp, then carabid beetles, then flies, taconid flies, parasitic flies. These are all parasitoid species. So the reason why UPSC has asked this question is very interesting because it's used in integrated pest management. If you are targeting a particular pest, like for example another species of wasp or caterpillars or something of that sort, we can actually use these parasitoid species to kill them through integrated pest management practice. So that's the basic thing. Also, eco-friendly alternative to pesticides and natural control of pest. We can actually use this to target invasive species like we have already discussed. So parasitoid species find their application in pest management basically. So that's about it. So keep that in mind. You don't have to go ahead and refer this. But one thing I would recommend you is that if you come across any animal behavior or anything interesting, try to get the name of that particular phenomena. That way, if UPSC asks a question regarding that, you will be able to connect it. Because most of the phenomena UPSC is asking, I think almost all of you might have heard or like come across something like this. but you just don't know the name. That might be the limiting factor for you from attempting this question. So try to get the name of whatever phenomena you come across, and that's it. Keep that in mind. You don't have to write everything down and make it very heavy. Just keep it in your mind, take a cool head and practice it slowly. Moving on. How many of the above belong to the P family? This P family and UPSC are, I don't know, they are like a match made in heaven. They always come up with question like, nitrogen fixing plants. P family is famous for its nitrogen fixing capabilities. And UPSC has asked multiple questions. Last time also, they have, like in 2022, they have asked question like giving 6 plant species and asking which of the following are capable of nitrogen fixing. So basically, P family are capable of nitrogen fixing. P family, we know things that belong to the beans or the gram pulses nature. So groundnut is also one thing. Groundnut is a P family. Yeah, we know. See, by the taste of it also we can see the taste of horse gram and groundnut, there is a similarity. So almost all the pulses and these oil seeds have a similar taste. That's because they all belong to the P family and their core structure is similar. And soybean is also a bean. Bean means P. So everything seems like a P family. So that's the answer. But since this is a repeated topic, I have actually made a note for you to refer. So just go through that. They are basically Fabaceae. The family called Fabaceae. So they are the P family, and they are actually contains food crops, pulses. See, food crops and pulses, oil seeds like groundnuts, fodder plants and trees. This is very important. You might think that P family might be having short shrubs or scrubs, but they actually have trees. This is important. Don't forget that. And of course, food crops we know. Pea, chickpea, lentil, anything, green gram, beans, soybean, everything we know that. Those are food crops. And then oil seeds, obviously, groundnut and soybean, fodder crops. See, this alfalfa UPSC have asked in 2022. Clover also UPSC have asked. In the same context, as in which of the following are nitrogen fixing. But luckily we were able to eliminate it, given that back then we didn't have this only one, only two. But had there been any only one, only two, that would have been very difficult. So alfalfa is a crop belonging to it's a fodder crop belonging to the P family. Clover is also same. Stylosandus is also one. Coming to the trees, this is very important. Gulmohar tree is actually part of P family. Babul is also part of P family. Shisham, this is a tropical tri-deciduous forest tree, which is also a P family. Very, very important. Remember that. So that's it. Palash, Subabul. So keep that in mind. See, there are trees and you should be keeping a track of them. So that's it. Moving on. The organisms cicada, froghopper, pond skater are. Generally, I have told you that there is a kind of naming scheme for these birds, and that is would be like frogmouth, white ibis, minivet, marmot. So something of that sort will be most likely birds. But again, what I'm saying is you just have to make an idea or an intuition about that. This cicada, if you have heard about cicada, you could directly get it because it is all connected with these secret societies and all. And cicada is a symbolic thing for that also. As well as cicada is being considered as a superfood for high protein insect based diet, because it's an invasive species and it is highly resilient. So there are plans going on to cultivate cicada at a higher scale and make protein bars out of it. That's another story. So that is also there. And also cicada is famous in the secret society, symbolic for secret societies. Froghopper, no idea. But pond skater, going by that name, you might all have seen a spider, like a thin spider like organism that is skimming across the water bodies. They are actually these pond skaters, and they are all insects. So if you have any of this idea, the idea about this pond skater or cicada, you will be able to arrive at the answer as C. So there is nothing you could do as such to learn about these. Just use a logic. Cicada is something very famous, so there is a good chance that you might have come across it. Pond skater, just try to imagine that name. Like, is it possible for a bird to be a pond skater? That seems less likely. For a fish, obviously that will be there, but fish with the name cicada, froghopper seems unlikely. So going by all that combinations, we can end up at insects. So that's about it. Moving on. Okay. One another important and interesting question. So this is again from our Gallant test. So this is one very important question. I think you can expect something like this in the upcoming prelims. So which one of the following fish species has the ability to shrink its own body in response to rising ocean temperature? See, UPSC have asked about filter feeders. UPSC have asked about these pond skaters. Then UPSC have asked about golden mussel. And UPSC have asked about which of the organisms has got symbiotic relationships. And in that, cnidarians are also mentioned. Cnidarians like sea anemone has a relationship with clownfish. So there are a lot of leading points towards this clownfish in the past. So there is a good chance that something of this sort, especially this ocean temperature, in the context of rising ocean temperature, this could be relevant. So keep this in mind. This peculiar behavior, I'm not saying that you should go ahead and read about all the peculiar behaviors exhibited by animals. It's not worth it. Hardly we get 2 questions. So I don't recommend doing all that. But try to follow a good test series so that you won't be left out with these things and you don't have to work on that all that much. See, this is a way the question that has been framed, keeping in the mind that UPSC might be asking something like this. So either you get the direct question or you will be able to eliminate it. So this is again I am saying the importance of taking a very good test series, and ours I can vouch for that. So please give it a shot. So clownfish, that's the answer. Moving on. Many chewing gums found in the market are considered a source of environmental pollution. Okay, imagine chewing gums. Are they polluting? Yeah, because the reason why we need to be disposing them, there is a strict rule on not haphazardly disposing them. At least in paper there are rules. So that is there because they are a source of pollution, not just littering, they are a source of pollution only. Many chewing gums contain plastic as a gum base. Again, plastic as a gum base, again, we don't actually eat these chewing gums, meaning that they are not edible as such. We can actually just consume it and just spit it out. So meaning that there could be something non-digestible in it. So this seems like a very good chance, and most of us have had chewing gums in the past, and the second statement does seem very likely, and plastic being an environmental pollutant, the second statement also makes sense. Second statement also explains the first statement. So it is fairly straightforward to take the first option. That's it. Moving on. This is very tricky, and I think I left this question in this examination. So there might be questions like this. It's not worth taking a risk because the only species I knew was elk, and I knew elk is a large deer, and it's not generally found in tropical regions. It might most likely be found in temperate regions. This was the only idea I had, but given the options, the way the options are framed, I couldn't do anything. So I left this question. So sometimes the questions about species might be very difficult. So it's okay to leave if you have enough attempts, and if you absolutely don't know anything, it's not worth taking the risk because there is a good chance that this could go wrong, because we need to be connecting these two things. We need to be first identifying the animal, that itself is a big risk, and also identify the habitat. So that's another risk. So this is a slightly difficult question. So if you are not 100% sure with it, just leave it, okay? It's not going to hurt your marks. The issue is that I don't know about these animals. So since we have got the opportunity, like I said, if you come across any animals that UPSC have already given, try to learn about them, okay? That's exactly what we are going to do now. This is elk. It's a large deer. So just keep the picture of elk in mind, and we'll study about the details later. This is an elk. This is a bonobo. Then from the name itself, you might not get it that it's a primate, a chimpanzee-like species. It's a chimpanzee-like species. I think it's closest living relative to humans after chimpanzees. So bonobos, they're a primate. Then this is Indri, again an arboreal lemur species. I think the largest lemur species. So it's arboreal. It's found in Madagascar. So these are the basic things. If you come across any animal or a species that are already been asked by UPSC, try to categorize them into these four headers, like these three headers. First, their IUCN status, then their distribution, and if possible include countries as well, okay, not just the continent, include countries as well, and then any special behavior exhibited by them. So elk has got a bugling by males, okay, and they are found in North America, and they are least concerned. So they are very much high in number, okay, bugling by males. Then bonobo, it's very important because bonobo is endangered and it's found in DRC. Okay, and matriarchal society, peace-oriented, closest relative to humans after chimpanzee. That's the significance of bonobos. Indri, it's see by the looks of it itself, you can see that it's a very peculiar animal, and that peculiarity comes from its its habitat. It's Madagascar. So most animals in Madagascar, the lemurs in Madagascar, are all very unique in their way because of the way Madagascar itself is formed. Madagascar and Australia has got this unique animal and plant species because of their evolutionary history. So it's a critically endangered, largest lemur, female dominance, arboreal. Okay, just learn about that, and that's it. Bonobo is endangered while Indri is critically endangered. Most species in Madagascar are generally endangered or critically endangered. Just keep that in mind. Again, our Gallant test question I have taken. This is from the UPSC PYQ itself. That lion-tailed macaque, we know it's Agasthyamella animae hills, and if you remember correctly, are they nocturnal or not? They are diurnal. They are not nocturnal. That's the specialty of this lion-tailed macaque. Namdappa flying squirrel. Namdappa National Park. It's in eastern Himalaya. Yeah, that's true. Then Kashmir red stag, Hangul deer. Kashmir red stag, Hangul deer is found in Dachigam National Park, and it's not in Central Indian Plateau. That is gone. Sangai brown antlered deer. It's found in Cable Lamjao National Park in Mizoram. Okay, so Manipur, Cable Lamjao in Manipur. So that is true. This is true. This is true. This is true. So I think it's 1, 2, and 4. So that's the answer. See, these are all important species. This Hangul deer, the IUCN status of Hangul deer, this Sangai deer, then pygmy hog. These are all very important species. Their IUCN status, their habitat, distribution, these are all very important because question has been repeatedly asked. So again, we are training our aspirants, our students to face these questions in such a way that they are best suited for the upcoming examination. We are not randomly putting in all the animals or organisms. We are selectively putting it based on the past trends that UPSC has given. So check out our test again. Moving on. World Toilet Organization. Okay. Nobody would have heard about this. I think I am hearing that organization for the first time when I am reading this question. So it is one of the agencies of United Nations. How on earth United Nations have such an important body, and somebody who has been preparing for the last 6 to 7 months for prelims haven't heard about it? This is very, very unlikely. So that itself was very sketchy for me. So I was like, okay, this is very unlikely. Then World Toilet Summit, World Toilet Day, and World Toilet College are the initiative of this organization to inspire action to tackle the global sanitation crisis. Okay, World Toilet Summit, World Toilet Organization. The name itself is World Toilet Organization. And all of these things kind of make sense, maybe. And this organization seems very much in line with the kind of activities they are taking. So this seems likely, but we'll see. The main focus of its function is to grant funds to the least developed countries and developing countries to achieve the end of open defecation. That's a very ambitious task. And the main issue is that even the UN bodies are not able to grant funds, because granting funds for environmental activities is the most challenging part. Funding part of things are very challenging. That's the biggest crisis faced by even the biggest of the organizations like UNFCCC, UNEP, or WEF, or like everybody. So this seems like a very difficult task to do, especially to ending open defecation. This is a very difficult task. They could be doing few things to develop develop awareness, or conduct research activities, or data collection, or maybe channel funds from other organizations, things like that. But granting funds, the main focus is definitely not granting funds. That seems like very improbable, because we know that any conservation activity is facing, and even the biggest of the conservation efforts like UNFCCC are facing the challenge of granting funds. So this seems very unlikely. This knowledge comes from repeatedly going through the PYQs and understanding the characteristics of organizations, not by learning, like repeated learning. If you are learning an organization like UNFCCC, if you are profiling it based on its character, like it's very difficult for them to grant fund, or World Environmental Facility, Global Environmental Facility, these sort of organizations are facing the challenge of granting funds, or the mobilization itself is challenging. They are even though they are organization primarily targeted to granting funds, they have eventually actually taken their step back from granting funds, because that's the difficult part in managing or conservation activity. So if you are profiling the organization based on their characteristics, you can actually extrapolate that to other organizations and get a general idea. This general understanding is what helps you solve these sort of questions. You will not be learning about anything of this sort from anywhere. This is a question that you have to handle as and when it comes. So this is how you should be studying. So the takeaway is to study in a way that you are profiling the organizations based on their characteristics and qualities. So this is wrong, meaning that it's gone, and it's one of the agencies of United Nations now, so it's 2. So that's how we arrive at the answer. Moving on, UPSC is another favorite. Big cats, big mammals. So UPSC have asked about big cats, lions, tigers, leopards. They have already asked about it. Again, they are asking another question. Another favorite area are big mammals like elephants. So that's another important area. Then deers and antelopes. So if I categorize it, mostly UPSC is surrounded with these big mammals like elephants. Then big cats, most of the big cats, they will be asking some question or the other about them. And then they are surrounded with deers and antelopes. So learn about these, like the kind of big cats in India, their IUCN status, habitat, behavior, whether they are matriarchal or not, things like that. So lions don't have a particular breeding season. Something that I never looked at. Maybe, maybe not. Unlike most other cats, cheetahs do not roar. This is something we know. Cheetahs can only growl. They cannot roar. So that's there. Then unlike male lions, male leopards do not proclaim their territory by scent marking. Even the house cat does this. Then how on earth this male leopard cannot do that? Almost all animals, whether it be a cat or a dog or anything, will most likely the male animals of that species will definitely be most likely be marking their territory through scent marking. And I don't think there are any exceptions. Even the cats, the dogs, and everybody does that. Even deers does that. So how on earth these leopards do not proclaim their territory by scent marking is a viable thing. Very unlikely. And don't overthink thinking that okay, maybe this is the biggest specialty of leopards that they don't do that. Imagine, leopards are just like your cats only, they are slightly bigger. So most of their characteristics will be same only. So if your cat does that, most likely the leopard will also be doing the same. So this is wrong. We have got it, the answer is A. That's the simple logic you need to have. The way the question has been framed is testing your simple logic only. See, you don't have to know about lions, whether or not they have a special particular breeding season or not. This is one fact, it's better to know, but in this particular question, even without that, you will be able to answer. But this is something you need to know. Cheetahs do not roar, okay? Not just cheetahs, I think puma also doesn't roar. So that's one thing. Since this is a question on big cats, it's very important to know a few things about International Big Cat Alliance. So this is one area that our test focuses on. The IBCA is a very important body because it's launched by Government of India. So for protection or conservation of big cats, that's not just our normal big cats. There is there are 7 species under these big cats. That includes, I think, lion, tiger, leopard, jaguar, snow leopard, puma, and I think one more species is there. So these are cheetahs, yeah. So these are the 7 big cats. And remember, snow leopard is not a big cat. Remember that. Sorry, not snow leopard. Clouded leopard is not a big cat. But puma is a big cat. So that's the difference you need to know. Snow leopard is a big cat. Clouded leopard is not a big cat. But puma is a big cat. So there are 7 big cats. And these 7 big cats are protected under International Big Cat Alliance. Even though we don't have jaguar, India has launched the program to conserve a global conservation effort that has been launched by Government of India. So that's the significance of IBCA. It's launched by Government of India to promote 7 big cats. See, we don't have jaguar or puma in India, but that's also included in this protection category. Only countries that currently host wild population of big cats are eligible for membership in IBCA. See, this seems very unlikely because any conservation efforts can include like-minded countries. Why would a country who want to join this IBCA be denied of the entry, given by the fact that they don't have it, because they can actually relocate it, or they can in future they can undertake such activities of protection of big cats. So there is no logical reasons to prohibit membership for countries that doesn't have big cats. So this seems less likely, and we will be arriving at the answer. And this is also another important thing. NTCA under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change serves as the nodal agency for International Big Cat Alliance. So this is very important thing to note, and upcoming examination we can expect it, given the fact that we are constantly working on these big cats, big mammals, etc. And it's very important to know which all are the big cats, and clouded leopard is not a big cat. So that's it. Moving on, how many above trees are actually native to India? Okay. If you have read about history, you can easily get to the answer. Red sanders, we know. We are 100% sure that they are native. That's the exact specialty of them. Sorry. But going by the name, we know that papaya, cashew, they are both introduced by the Portuguese. So that's gone. We are left with only one. That is, red sanders is the only one native to India. Both papaya and cashew, they are introduced by the Portuguese. So they are not native to India. Then, how many of the above have poisonous species among them? Okay. Poisonous species among them. Okay. Think about it. Butterflies. At first sight, we may think that okay, they are the most harmless kind of creatures. But think about them. Are they really that harmless? They should have some sort of defensive mechanism, and some species will be more vulnerable to attack from others. So they will be having some defensive mechanism in the form of poison. So to prevent other animals from other bigger species from eating them. So butterflies could be there because they are very much vulnerable when they are at the caterpillar or larval stage. So this could be possible. Fish, stonefish is one fish I actually know about having a poisonous species, and also puffer fish. They have got they are actually venomous, which is also often used in Japanese cuisine, but they are actually poisonous only, puffer fish. Then stonefish. Then frogs, of course we know frogs have got like a lot of dark frog. They have all got poisonous species among them. So all three are possible. So that's about it. You don't need to know factually, but generally think about it. Having these frog species, they are constantly being eaten by higher order species. So they could be having some sort of poisonous species among them. Also, one more thing, try to identify, find the difference between poisonous and venomous. Poisonous meaning they don't have any mechanism to inject their toxin, but venomous meaning that they will be having some sort of like a tooth or something to inject that toxic material to the other body, to the attacker's body or towards a prey body. That's what snakes does. That's why snakes are venomous, and these organisms are actually poisonous, because this is defensive only. But venom is actually defensive as well as offensive. So that's different. Poisonous and venomous. Keep that in mind. Moving on. Which of the following shows a unique relationship with an insect that has co-evolved with it, and that's the only insect that can pollinate this tree? You may not know this answer, but this is again something that helps you if you keep your eyes open. Often we come across this fig, and have you ever wondered why there's a dried fig? When we eat them, there is like a sort of a crackling sound inside it. That's because of the pollinated seeds and actually the remains of a wasp that is inside this fig. Because when fig tree is growing, when it's at its flowering stage, the wasp enters it and then it pollinates it and then becomes the fruit, and this wasp itself dies inside it. But the wasp larvae will be there, and once the fruit is being eaten or or it just falls off to the ground, these wasps actually come out of it and they do the same process again. This is done by the fig tree, like fig and wasp. There is a wasp connected to this fig tree, so that's a fig and wasp combination. So that's the answer. Slightly factual, but most of you might be knowing this, given somewhere or the other you might come across this, especially in this videos and all, you might be coming across it. So any interesting fact about such organisms can actually help you clear these questions, but it doesn't really matter. You don't have to hunt for them, but just that's it. Now particular elimination is possible, but there is one thing we could do is that silk cotton, we know it's not there is a whole different thing, relationship with silk cotton. Like it's not really connected. Sandalwood also doesn't really have a fruit. Mahua does have a fruit, and fig also have a fruit. So we could be arriving at thinking that an insect be needing a fruit or something to do this activity. We could be arriving at fig or mahua without having any awareness. But that's the best we could arrive, and just take a risk from that 50-50. But again, I'm saying that okay, even if you don't know anything about this, it's okay to leave, fine. But I knew about it, that's why I'm saying this is the answer, and that's why I attempted this question. Membrane bioreactors. This is again something that you should be either you might have come across in current affairs. There is a good chance of that. Okay, I'm not saying that this is not at all unheard of, but I haven't heard about it. But the way I have answered this question is because first I went through all the options. Assisted reproductive technology, membrane bioreactor, okay, maybe drug delivery nanotechnology, membrane drug delivery, okay, drug delivery through a membrane. This seems possible. Vaccine production technology. In vaccine production technology, most of the things we are dealing with is mRNA vaccine or things of that sort. There is no membrane bioreactor happening. Wastewater treatment plants. This is very much difficult from all of these. These are strictly medical practices, and this one is entirely different. A wastewater treatment technology. And I try to connect it. Where do we come across a membrane? We have come across membranes in reverse osmosis mechanisms in which water is being cleaned, okay, filtered. So there is a membrane, a porous membrane through which water is being pushed out so that the impurities remain on one side and clean water comes out of the other side. So a membrane is possible. Then bioreactor, okay, something biogas bioreactor, something where just like our bio toilet in railways, something of that sort could be happening. So both of them make sense if I think in the line of wastewater treatment. And the reason why I think in the line of wastewater is because all of these three things are on the lines of medical drug delivery or something of that sort, and I couldn't connect it except for this drug delivery. I cannot connect these two with by membrane bioreactors, but with water treatment I was more able to connect it because membranes are often used as filters. Then bioreactors are basically bio toilets that we use in the railways. So everything makes sense when it comes to wastewater treatment technology, and that's how I arrived at this answer. So that's about it. Learn about bioreactors, which is slightly important in the upcoming years. So that's about it. I think the kind of session we had today was fruitful for you. Keep doing the questions and try to follow the Gallant test, because like I said, this kind of questions we are having, like about the big cats and the ones about these species, it's actually helpful if you actually take a test series. You don't have to go through every now and then or every nook and crannies or details about every species. We are doing that job for you, making it very easy. So try to stick to this, and if you are able to attempt the Gallant test, I highly recommend that. So that's about